Ken, you like to take us through this, your agenda here?
Yeah, what I've done is pulled things from the DCG core plan report that I thought were doable and asked them for proposals. And the first is to redesign and launch a new website. And that's something I think we've needed for a long time. He's given us a proposal that's $19,250 with the expenses included. We definitely need it. I've had people comment on just recently, and this is the port side of things, that there's no information on there. And there isn't any current stuff that would suggest that we do wind turbines, for example. So it really needs a major updating. That's not a bad price at all at $19,250. We can select DCG core plan, or we could draft an RFP and go out to competitive bidding and hire someone locally. That would take a little bit longer. I mean, I'd have to write the RFP, so I'd probably add, then you gotta go out to bids and everything, so you probably added a month to the project. The negative is that DCG core plans in New Jersey. It might be nice to have someone locally. The positive is they'll do a good job, but from what I've seen so far.
So your recommendation, John, is to go with DCG core plan, again, for procurement policy reason, best interest of the authority?
I think so, just to kick things off, get the ball rolling.
You'd like to do both option 1 and option 2, right? The 16-week one? Yeah?
Yes.
What'd you say the cost goes again? Because I'm missing a figure somewhere.
Yeah, it's
17.5, right?
Yeah, and then under reimbursable expenses, it's another 10%. So it's another $1,750. So
okay, that's when you said the 1950. I'm going, okay, I don't see that number anywhere. So thank you for looking it up.
Yep.
Well, in the scheme of things, how does this make sense to you?
So the total's 19.
Well, this makes sense to me.
$19,250.
Definitely needs to be done. One of the problems I see with this going forward is who's going to maintain it and the ease of maintaining it. Right now, one of the reasons, frankly, our website is out of date is, aside from the public authority accountability and our policy sections and the stuff that we have to put on there for compliance, it's a matter of time. I just don't have time to keep everything up to date on the web.
Do we have anybody on staff?
We do not, but that's one of the things that we need to find something, because this is okay, great. You redesign the website, spend $19,500, and 6 months from now it's out of date. We're right back to where we started. So
We can come back.
I mean, you thought about that. What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, we
on
can
that?
come back with a maintenance agreement. You can hire someone locally that can maintain it for you on a yearly basis.
Well, maintaining it and use the hits on it is something else. Who goes back and pulls up the information? I got 6 hits today, where they're coming from, whatever.
We can have them build that in so that we get that information, I believe.
Yeah, but those
That's
are your leads,
important,
whatever.
yeah.
Now, do they have some sort of, my guess would be yes, but some sort of services where they can maintain this? I mean, if we're happy with this group and we use them, the more we keep them involved, the more likely everything is continuous. At the same time, there's a little part of me that says, if we had somebody local and we needed maintenance right away, or we needed to do something, then we could I don't know that we could get it any cheaper because I don't know what the cost of building a web page was, but we would have them more at our avail perhaps. Although web pages, they would be able to sit in their living room, people who do it probably, and access it and do what we want. I guess it's a matter of, is it better to look at the possibility of going local?
That's,
Or
I want to
maybe-
go back to the
yeah.
other part is, within our system is, I mean, do we have the manpower to do this before? I mean, it had to be somewhere along the line that was being done.
No, strictly
No?
me. I mean, I spent weekend after weekend revamping this thing. And again, it was, you know, I'm speaking from a 5 years ago perspective. Invested all the time and effort to build something that we could use, and it worked well
Save
for a
money,
while.
yeah.
You know, it worked well for a while, and we did that. Again, times were different. We had a web developer that was going to come on, a local person, and do. I think the cost was like $25,000 at that time, and it was subpar stuff. So I happened to have the skills at that time. I said, you know, I can do this, and it's part of my job. I can just do it, and that worked great. But it wasn't a long-term solution. So as a result, we're sitting here and we're looking at things. Our content's fairly current. Our content's about a year old in most spots, but the general site design has not changed in pretty much 5 years. We're still using the same skeleton that's there.
Maybe I'm missing the point here. Are we talking about somebody who is going to redesign the website and maintain it? Or we have somebody who is just going to take the website we have now and just maintain it, keep it up to date?
No, we're gonna completely redo the website.
Completely redo
and
it?
then have it maintained, right? On a
Yeah.
consistent basis.
And then maintain whatever?
Well, no, this doesn't. This
No,
This
there-
doesn't include.
No,
maintenance.
this doesn't include maintenance,
This
but
doesn't.
after it's all redesigned and everything, we can look at
Okay.
hiring someone locally that can maintain it.
Somewhere along the line, somebody has to take ownership to this. I just feel like that somewhere along the line, if I'm relying on an outside agency, whatever to do it, I don't know, I'm struggling with it. I'm thinking about what you guys propose, of your grant writer type of person, whatever, okay. They're not gonna write grants all day long.
No.
Okay, but they're also gonna know whether, you know, what's going on within your system by maintaining this system, whatever. I mean, I think, throw that kind of money out, that person can engulf that in their job responsibility. I mean, if I'm wet, you know, Fred, you tell me, but I mean.
I think that's,
It depends if they have the expertise to do it or not.
Oh, I guess as I look at it, it goes right back to that same accounting/grant writer. We talked about, well, you're not gonna get somebody that's gonna be doing, you know, it's, one's at one end, one's at the other. To me, the grant writer, possibly /marketing, would be a better idea, and then maybe it would be easier to find somebody along that line that would have the skills in maintaining your website. Just a thought.
And I see it in the long range, probably putting everybody's thoughts together. It needs to be redesigned. We probably have people, not probably, I think these people are very aware of what a web page of our ilk should look like and could provide us with that. And then as we move forward, I guess I made my thoughts a little bit clear. I'm not crazy about the direction that we were going. I will follow it because it was recommended, but I think maybe we should rethink what it is that we're looking for to fill positions that are open, and with the same amount of dollars or a similar amount of dollars, perhaps go in the direction where we can get this covered. Because, listen, I've done a little bit of web page myself. It's too many hours. It's too tedious. These people have other fish to fry. But as you say, Sam, I think there ought to be someone within the system that we can continue to, you know, to call back and to do it. And God, it seems like one of the big things about your web page is it would tie so much into your grant writing and the goals that you're trying to achieve. So maybe we need to get this done and maybe rethink where we're going, or at least review where we're going, to say, how could we do this in a manner that will accomplish all these things differently? That's,
So how would that work for us? Would we use, what do they call them, DBG, or what's the initials for those guys?
DCG.
TCG. Would we have them initially start the process?
Yeah, they would redesign it, and they'd work with me for text and pictures and everything else, and they'd launch it. And then after that, we could figure out how we're gonna maintain it. You know, it might be a yearly contract with a local firm that has access to it and can maintain it for us.
I think there's two different kinds of maintenance. One is updating information. When a Navy ship comes in, then that picture's on there Monday morning. That's not a local firm, that's an employee. But maintaining it to add a page because we've built a new building or something, that's something else again. That's maintaining the whole site, or updating the
physically
whole site.
working with the whole system, yeah.
And I think someone with accounting skills, along with, I see that as, because I've seen people with accounting skills, and that's one of their jobs, is to go in and update the financial reports in there, update the, they just have that same type of ability because they have the
That
system
fits right
type
in.
ability.
Sure.
Fits in.
And I don't have a problem with that as long as we look down to the future, but I think you look at it two different things. Building it,
Yep.
and then we got it, what do we do with it? Is it gonna be another thing that's just set over to the side?
Right.
Because if, just a second, the same thing happened at the school and the city. It looked beautiful
Mhm.
until you got inside of it, and it wasn't that good anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, so you have to, if you're going to have it, there's so many people out there that are surfing and are looking at it and are connected to Ogdensburg, that you have to have not only a web page, but very professionally done, targeted at what you want, and then the maintenance feature, we can look at how we're going to maintain it as really the future unfolds in terms of what type of employee you hire. But I agree with you, many accountants, many people in math or those types of positions are very good at it.
Yeah. Well, I go back to the basic question, and that is investing the time and energy into this, and the maintenance, continuation, whatever you want to be. Are we spending this money and effort and going to get the results out of it? I mean, we all want to do it, but now you say, all right, am I going to get something in return of now obviously it's a professional approach. We know when we're interviewing people, whenever they open up our website and learn about us, whatever we want to be. But for a marketing tool, does it do all the things, John, that you think it makes sense to have?
Yes.
And that's it. That's all you need to ask ourselves. Our energy is, all right, let's make this a serious effort to make it happen the way we need to happen. I mean, that's where you guys go.
So my guess is that's why you had it number one on the agenda. Well, it just doesn't make sense to me that if you're going to market yourself, the first blush is the most important one. How you present yourself is extremely important.
John should be able to say to a customer, go to the website and say that with confidence, not with shame on it.
Don't open our website.
Yeah,
Please don't do that.
Or vice versa, if somebody's out there just saying, where can I do this, when they hit
Right.
something,
Right.
they have to say, hey, surprise, surprise.
In that situation too, you gotta feel good about yourself. I mean, if you open that web page today, and as you said before, it needs to be updated, and as an employee or as any of these gentlemen sitting here, and you look at it, you say, geez, this isn't really our best effort, So now you're second guessing. So now if you come out and everything's great, you feel really good about it, you got a little bit more confidence, and what does that do to people that are looking at it?
Right now, our website works, but it has the feeling of picking up an old brochure, and that's not what we need.
The county's website, Industrial Development Agency, used a local firm out of Canton, Potsdam. Theirs is very, very well done. They have case studies and everything, so I think we take a little bit of a risk with DCG core plan, but it might be a good risk, you know, they may have someone that's, you know, an expert in the field that they hire, they're gonna sub it out, so.
Yeah, they're gonna sub it to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So I would suggest this actually turned into two items. Item A1 would be a cost not to exceed $19,500, I get my
250.
$19,250 to DCG core plan to redesign and launch a new website. And A2 then would be a takeaway to come back with a proposal to maintain this once it's done.
And then that would give us time to really decide, not only as a committee, but as a board, where we want to go with that position.
Yes.
You know, whether we're going to get the accounting, marketing, or grant writing, what are we going to do there? What makes the most sense for us, and what are we going to get the, you know, bang out of our dollar for? And I kind of agree with what Sam said earlier is, you know, if we go ahead and the thing that was proposed to us, and then 4 or 5 months down the road, we really get into this and say, geez, we need a marketing person, or we need somebody else. If we could tie it together and wait to see what we really need, I think that's would be the way to go.
How do you use the website?
I don't actually.
So you don't how many hits or anything that's on there? And you don't have
There's
any.
no tracking mechanism.
We don't have any tracking mechanism. Nothing. So we don't know how many people open that thing.
No.
Would we, if this was redesigned?
Yes.
Yeah, that's important.
Extremely.
And it would be good to.
I mean, go ahead, John. Sorry.
Well, it'd be good to, yeah, know how many hits a day and who's looking at it, so on and so forth.
There's one section that we primarily use, right now it's serving primarily a compliance function, all the stuff that we have to post because we're public authority, all our policies, the committee appointments, the stuff that OSC looks at, the state agencies look at, our audits, that section is used strictly for compliance.
Earlier, you indicated that many years ago it was going to cost us $25,000 to get this done.
Yes, we had again, we're on camera, so I'm not going to mention the consultant's name.
Right,
but,
you don't need to.
I had enough skills at the time, I could see through, what do you want to say, you pull back the veil and you could see that we were,
Well, it seems like an awful
Bargain
bargain. All I
shiesty.
wanted to do was verify what I thought I heard, that it was going to cost $25,000 then, and we're going to do it for $19,250 now with the ability to do things that would enhance our ability to market ourselves.
yes,
Seems like money well spent.
the code is a lot, you want to say, it's a lot more elegant today, it's a lot more modular. It's a difference between a craftsman that has to go in and hand design every single thing and an assembly line operator that can pull modules and assemble things. Much different, it's much different today than it was even 5 years ago.
How do you see this in 5 years from now, John? I mean, we started this process here. I don't know who's at the table here in 5 years, whatever. But I mean, where do we see the website? Where do we see the growth plate? Where do we see? I mean, I know this has to do with the personnel thing because you're looking at some people who are going to come in here and do this, and we're kind of worried about. I mean, this is all about the revenue side. I mean, this is what we're talking about. So where do you see this in 5 years? Where do you want to take this? I guess that's what I asked you.
I see it being launched, maintained, and perfected, you know, so that it's a good marketing tool that gives us results.
You know, one of the things that Fred said, you know, did anybody actually see the Navy warship? I looked out there, and it was so majestic and awesome. It just startled me. I just, holy cow, Barb, look at this. And there's a lot of people who didn't see it. So where are they going to get to see it? You know, well, you get them exploring this type of thing, or you can direct them to it. But to get back to that exact topic, the cost not to exceed 19,250. What are we directing John to do? To explore local options, or to just take DCG, look at them, and see what they would do for a maintenance?
What's our procurement policy say on this?
Our procurement policy says anything over $5,000 needs to go out to competitive bid, with the exception of, there's best interest of the authority, there's
Yeah.
time, there's, what are some of the other exceptions, do you remember?
Specialized expertise and historical relationship with the authority. So, I mean, you can hire DCG
So we can
with
do
the
that.
exceptions, yeah.
It'd be well within your rights to pass a resolution today at the committee level for the board consideration, cost not to exceed $19,250 for hiring DCG core plan redesign and launch a new website.
Fred, does that money make sense to you? That makes sense that we can budget that in a line that we get results from it? I know we talked about a 3-year plan, whatever, see what other results we're gonna get, and then redesign ourselves to see what makes sense, and it'll put you under pressure, but, you know, that's why we're investing here, time, money, and energy, that's what happens.
I think in this day and age of social media and all that, that we're missing out by not having
Yeah,
a
through here, yeah.
first-class website.
Yeah, because he mentions that quite strongly in a couple of areas in that.
Yeah,
we need.
using LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we propose $19,250 to launch a new website with DCG. As by the rules of place that in the best interest of the authority, that is the best firm to use at this point in time.
I'll second that. I just have one question. Do we want to include in the motion to maintain it when it's done, or will you just get an estimate for us on that?
I think it'll take 6 months or so for them to build it and launch it.
Right.
And then at that point in time, we'll find somebody locally and get proposals for maintenance.
And I would suggest, for the record here, that this committee, or staff specifically, come back to this committee with a proposal to maintain this site.
Right.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. If we spend this money and we don't like it, what's our recourse?
Find somebody else.
But we are investing, paid them 19. They sold me on this already, but I mean, it's like I know the quality of what's there, but I'm just saying is, do we have any impact to say what they design and how they design it?
Oh,
Or are we just going to say, guys, this is what we got, this is who we are, take us where you want to take us?
No, anytime you hire a consultant, there's a lot of interaction and a lot of work at the staff level. I'll be working with them regularly, and I'll see different drafts and make comments and suggestions and tell them whether we like it or don't like it, and so we'll wait for it.
And John, my suggestion here would be to set them up on a progress payment type format.
Yep.
Maybe a third, for example, something like that. So if something isn't going right, and a third of the way into it, you'll know.
So in the resolution, you're going to initiate this, John, through you?
After board approval.
Yeah.
Yep.
At the board level,
So I'm going to go to the second item?
yeah. We didn't vote on it, really.
Oh, you didn't vote?
We had a second, we had a question.
I second it, and we
Yeah.
have discussion.
Well, I guess that-
Doug's got to call a vote.
You want to do it?
Yeah, all those in favor?
All's in favor?
I'll say aye.
Aye.
All in favor.
Opposed? Anybody opposed? Motion carried.
Yeah, spend money already. We're investing money, that's what we're doing. Investing. Hey, John.
Second item, for the different industry clusters that were recommended. They're recommending developing a prospectus basically that shows the benefits financially of opening a facility here. And one of the categories was international business and logistics cluster. We do have kind of a logistics cluster here with FedEx and Strader Ferris and the corporate center and Derringer, and that seems to be where the growth is. So I think there's a possibility that by developing the prospectus and marketing the prospectus, perhaps we can convince another logistics firm to locate in one of our buildings here. So that's why I picked that and got a price for it. Total cost is $8,250. Again, with that 10% markup for expenses, project-related expenses involved. So I think that's a good strategy and would recommend it.
So John, is this going to be able to somehow interface with the website that we just
It can, yeah.
improved?
We can
I think
have
that's
the-
essential
We
because
can have the prospectus right on the website.
if we develop a new tool, it's important that we publicize that.
I've seen different reports done by the North Country Alliance, for example. They did 4 different ones on wood at the time and a number of other industries. And you take that and you mail it out to different companies, and hopefully it attracts their attention and proves the fact that, you know, that type of an operation is viable here. It could result in nothing. Hopefully it results in something, you know.
You're saying you want to hire the same company to do this, Ken?
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, these are all DCG core plan proposals. The reason for that is, you know, we invested in a $20,000 report, and now we're implementing it, and the board seemed to be happy with DCG core plan, so.
okay.
John, do you have a sample of what one of these things looks like?
I don't know. Just that I've seen,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
just that I've seen, you know, some, I don't know if they were actual prospectuses or not, but, yeah, I really don't know in the end what it's gonna look like, just other than what's been described so far.
John, one of the thoughts I had, one of the crazy ones out there, but is our connection with the Canadian market, which we have been doing, but is, you know, tapping into the Montreal market, you know, Quebec market, whatever. I mean, how will this enhance that? I mean, it seemed to me that, you know, Wade and I had some of these discussions with other people, whatever, that, you know, I think he mentions that someplace else, whatever, but, you know, how do we tie into that market? Where can we have an agency or somebody that we can get into, or, you know, work for us up there, or something like that? You know, broker, or something.
He mentions in his proposal that,
Yeah,
we would target, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City. How we do that, not 100% sure right now. I do have a database for both Quebec and Ontario. So in the end, it may be a prospectus that we target logistics firms and pull those out of the database, and then we mail this prospectus to them to get them interested in Ogdensburg.
how, this is quite crazy, so don't laugh at me. How fluent does our new toll booth guy speak French? Very fluent? How do we utilize him?
I've never ran into a situation where I've gone up to Montreal where they aren't speaking English.
I know,
I
but
have run into a situation going up farther into Quebec where an assistant I would meet with who's fluent or who can speak English, because the owner primarily French-speaking, so, but they're generally bilingual.
Well, I know they're bilingual, but when you can go with the other level of communication, we know we go up there. My brother's been American, all right, and he's been up there for 35 years. Can't speak English or French. Understands a little bit, then whatever. But when you can communicate at their level, their way, you know, so that's what I'm saying is somebody, an agency or somebody that, I mean, I'm just throwing crazy curves out here, but, you know, how you culturally get into that system is important element.
The
He could not
website-
break the cultural line.
The website will be, available in French, so that'll be a plus for us.
Okay,
We're paying for that. And if I ran into a situation up in, you know, Quebec City or something that the person generally spoke French, I mean, we could invite him along to, you know, because of his French abilities, you know.
You're on the wrong side of the union contract for that, but that's not going to be an option from that side of things.
Well,
don't kill it there, but I understand what you're saying.
Basis.
Huh?
I imagine there's chances of that occurring on a consultant basis, or that
Yes.
type of thing. I like our committee. We're spending a lot of money already. Do we have money to spend? I guess. So I'm looking at that. Wasn't there money that we had set aside for brochures and that type of thing that we can transfer to this pool, or is this new money? Is that, I guess, is my question. Didn't we, at one time, we put so much in, the city put so much in, and
Oh, no, this isn't the JEZC money.
We're not
To
in
answer
that.
your question about money, yes, there was a large pile of money that was set aside in the budget.
but we could have
We
used
added-
it for this type of thing.
We
couldn't
added to it, and that's what this would be used for. Or this- what the-
And that's all I'm asking. This is not new money. There is money within the context of the budget as it sits right now that we could use for this.
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
that's,
That's what-
There's about
162,000.
162,000, we spent 40 so far.
And that would be a good thing for our deputy and chief financial
We don't know
officer
that.
to report back on a regular
Okay.
basis.
I will.
So that
And
we
what
can
I
see the money
plan to
tab.
do in addition to what these larger proposals we're bringing to the committee is that, because there already is a budget in place, I'm going to continue to do marketing if it's under 5,000 and I see an opportunity for placing an ad or
Right.
anything else based on the budget that was adopted by the board. And,
well, my concern was first day of the committee and we're just,
Spending away.
Spending money.
We got a checkbook we've never seen before.
yeah, let's try this, let's try that. So I feel much, much, much better that this is in the, somewhere in the budget, and I felt that it was. but-
Go ahead, Frank.
I think the year before it was around 90,000. We proposed it around 120 or 130, and you raised it to 162
Right.
during the budget process,
Yeah.
just for this type of activity.
I was just going to say, I noticed there at the last reports that you were starting to work on the budget. So you will continue, there will be a line item to continue with X amount of dollars to, like a website thing, if we need
It
more
will be
activity
that
in this.
Specific, it'll be the marketing.
Marketing
The
thing, but there
dollar
will-
amount next year that would be proposed would be,
Right.
generally, we use a straw man, and what we
Yep.
do is we use the dollar amount that was in the prior year. and
Okay.
Roll that forward.
Okay.
So that's where we would basically start. I would suggest on this one for the International Business and Logistics Cluster prospectus, John, is there any way we can get this translated to French by them? So that we have both a French version and an English version?
yeah, I don't think that's a problem. I would think that they'd be willing to do it under the same scope of services.
Well, do we get anything into the Spanish market? I don't know.
No, that's a good point.
I mean, we're going to Europe, we're reaching out. I mean, I know sometimes, you know, Spain's one of the untapped areas. I know the Euro's in struggle with it, but
Is this,
I know French.
this brochure something that we could put on our website and refer them to that area?
Yes.
And then they would be able to perhaps read it and, I don't know, even if we just put it on the website, cost to print, and I know it's a small amount, but it just seems like if we blow this up, that the cost of the printed articles for the parties we're going to reach would be a good question. Somewhere they ought to be able to read it in their language, but I think it would be not cost effective, I guess. But if we had it electronically, it's,
Yeah, we'll have it electronically on the website or available, and, we can write a letter and entice logistics firms, target logistics firms, and say, we have this free report that suggests that Ogdensburg is an ideal location for logistics, and they can contact us for a copy of it, view it on our website.
When you say target, who? You're targeting Canadian, targeting US, you're targeting European?
I still think
Who's the target in this?
I think our market is still Canadian. That's what DCG core plant has it here. Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City.
that's why I think the English, French is the way to begin myself.
Yeah.
And,
True.
move from there.
Are we doing anything with Oshawa? Are they into the market? Because I know the Port of Toronto's kind of got out of they're sliding that way. Was it GM or Ford? Oshawa?
That was
GM.
They aren't doing, no, I mean, I've been to Oshawa once, and I know the people that work there. But that's on the port, that's on the port side of things.
Yeah.
This is more on the economic development side of things.
Didn't Oshawa contact us for something?
No, you're thinking of our meeting with, names escaping me, the rest area there. Camera, the elected official. It was part of the meeting we had down in Buffalo, the after meeting.
No, I don't think that's, I'll come back to
That's
this.
where we learned about the Oshawa.
That's where it was. Yeah, you're right. I like that. All right, so are you recommending this, John?
Yes.
Read your
I
thoughts.
move that we accept the proposal to develop these marketing materials at a cost not to exceed 1,000 or 12,000 plus. There's another 1,200. Am I right?
Oh, sorry, I think you're on the wrong page.
Yeah,
Oh,
7,500.
So,
8250.
Yep.
okay, 8250. I jumped ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
Wade, you recommend this also?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Third item is a proposal from DCG Core Plan to develop new marketing materials. This would be,
Excuse me, John, just interrupting for the record here. Again, it is 8250, which is over a $5,000 procurement. The procurement reason selecting DCG core plan would be best interest in the authority and time allotted. Is that my facts right there, John?
yes, and we'll have the exceptions in the resolution.
I just want to make sure that's stated. We will, I'm sorry,
Thank
go ahead.
So they're the logistical balance in this whole thing. That's why we're using DCG.
We have a historical relationship with them.
Well, I'm saying, I mean,
Yes.
so all those things, we don't want
Yeah.
to piecemeal over here,
Yes.
A
piecemeal
different one
over
for
here.
this
So
one.
that's the, all right, so they're taking a greater ownership to all of it.
And
Okay.
you said that'll be in the resolution, right?
Yes.
You've got that for the resolution, Ed? Thank you.
So DCG has proposed the development of new print marketing materials that would be consistent with the website, including a port brochure. And any other marketing materials we have, which we have a lure brochure that we use for direct mailing into Canada, and there may be other items that come out of it. We have a community profile that was a real nice piece, but it was done probably 12, 15 years ago through the city, and I'll take a look at that as well. It's certainly outdated.
I'm not sure I'm in favor of this one. And some of the things that we've been doing, are they gonna provide something totally different than what we're doing?
I think we can go out for less expensively and hire a local firm and decide which brochures that we need to do. And there'd be a little lag time because we probably should wait to see the website. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so that whoever the new printer is, and I can go to Henderson Printing. I can use someone locally in St. Lawrence County, although there aren't a lot of printers left. But certainly there are design people locally. And we can put it out to competitive bid as well as far as printing and the quantities that we want.
Well, I'll move that we table this until, once we see the construction of the webpage.
I agree.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
I would just note here, John, also on the general marketing materials, that fourth bullet from the bottom and the bullet on the bottom, that's obtaining quotations from local folks. That's something that we should be doing as opposed to them, as opposed to them.
Yes.
So that might be something that drops the fee as well. Okay, so where are we now, John?
Fourth item is a prospectus for the attraction of a Greek yogurt plant. This is just a concept. It's consistent with what DCG core plan was recommending as far as the agribusiness cluster. I think it was mentioned at the board meeting. There's growth in this area. There is growth in this area. There are a couple that have popped up in New York State. Certainly there's the milk supply. Whether or not one of our buildings can be adapted for that, that remains to be seen as part of the study if you decide to do it. This is a leap of faith. I mean, it is a growth area. So,
I'm certainly not even an expert, but what I read in the paper on this, the newspaper, is that St. Lawrence County didn't have enough milk resources to, and I know part of this says how do we get that milk here, but it said that St. Lawrence County doesn't have enough milk resources to support a plant. So well, I'm guessing on this piece here, I'm all for looking at it. How do we study it? But this is one of the things at the beginning of the meeting that I was talking about that I find hard to believe that somebody else in St. Lawrence County hasn't looked at this, some other group. And that's something that I think that we should be somewhere in the future looking at, trying to pull the resources together and offering our support, I guess. I can't imagine that this isn't something that has come in front of Patrick Kelly somehow. I mean, if it's in there or whatever.
I go to, there's a group of economic developers that meet on a fairly regular basis, once every 2 months. This has not come up.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I've also emailed Patrick about the possibility of sharing in the costs. I haven't heard back from him yet.
Okay.
I think that report said that that article said that St. Lawrence County and Jefferson County were shipping milk to another Greek yogurt plant in the western part of the state.
The reason, well, I certainly wouldn't rely on my ability to read and interpret. What I got out of it was the reason it was located in western New York because the milk resources weren't available in these counties, and the farmers were finding a way to do it. So see, I guess what I go back to is there must be a group that represents the milk farmers that could tell us some of the answers that we have to the questions as we explore this.
They have a
and-
cooperative.
Huh?
They have a cooperative.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah.
And I want to say that I'm willing to spend the money from our standpoint to support this initiative. It just seems like it should be a little broader than just us, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
Where would, I mean, we really have an ace here if you think about it, Darrell Albertine. Where would he fit into the conundrum here?
Well, we could write him or talk to him and ask his opinion on, are we going down the right path in terms of, what should we be going after as far as value-added agricultural production?
And to see if there's any type of funding out there available for this type of
point.
thing as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of funding, I have one question. It's kind of a consistency question. When we talked about the international business and logistics cluster proposal, the total cost of that, everything all in, was $8,250. This one is specifically for the Greek yogurt company. It's a prospectus, same basic thing. Yet everything on this one, all in, is $10,450.
It's a little more in-depth as you read through it because it is specific, so.
My question is, can you go back to DCG core plan and basically use that argument and say, look, you've got the international logistics is 8250 instead of the 10,450. How about 8250 for the Greek yogurt proposal?
Yeah.
And we could also change the approach.
Let's
so
go back
that-
to my thought here. I mean, how do we use Mr. Albertine in this situation? How do we tap into him? Here he is, the state leadership, for this industry, and obviously he's got to support the whole system. But I mean, he understands us probably better than. Yeah, go ahead.
My thoughts are St. Lawrence County and Jefferson County are the leading milk producing counties, not only in the state, in the Northeast. There's not much done here for value added. Now, is there milk resources? Every drop of milk that's produced is sold somewhere. They have contracts and so on. I think they can write an article honestly saying that there's not milk resources, but they're going to Buffalo. They're going somewhere else where the value added production is happening. Albertine knows, or the Ag and Markets knows, where milk is produced and where it's processed into something with value added, and would be able to provide that information to this prospectus. So I think that's a place that they will go, or whoever puts this prospectus together will go for that kind of information. But I know we suffer here in the North Country because we don't have value-added production facilities.
The reason for that is because we're remote and it's cheaper to ship the milk than it is to ship the end product.
Right.
That's
And
generally what I've heard. I don't know.
I've heard, but they're not considered the market being.
But it
north.
only makes sense that if, I guess that we use all of our resources, and I like the explanation here, but it only makes sense that we use all of our resources. This is not a secret.
Yeah.
Yogurt plant is not a secret. Then I think a couple things that we need to do is, that was a good idea that you had, because we have a resource that is going to work for us. I think at the Economic Development Committee meetings that you had, you need to talk about it. We're going to end up with the same fallout or a similar fallout of what our benefit is, but I'm looking at the broader benefit for the working man in St. Lawrence County, and it's not just the people who are going to work in a plant or do that. We're talking about our farmers whose milk is going to become more valuable. And then they also, garner some of the achievements. But I think this is something that we need to, Sam had a great idea, go to Albertine, see what he thinks about it, where we can go with it, and I don't think we're ready for a study yet.
Okay.
I think we're ready to say, we'll put in our portion, or we'll put in whatever we want, but let's get a group focused on that.
Yeah, I
Maybe a better consultant out there too, who specializes in dairy,
Mhm.
take a look at
Is there a time frame on this?
it. No.
Okay, it's not somebody's, they're looking now, whatever, so it's like, okay, all we try and do is create some energy for them. This is the place we want to go, or not take them, I don't know, I won't say not.
I think it's a great idea what you come up with, as Steve said, but I'd like to get the feedback from our team first
Yeah,
before we spend
Yeah,
any money on that.
Right, this is a question as opposed to a statement. I just want to make sure that we've got this appropriately so we know the action items on our side of things. You'd like us to develop some alternate proposals, contact Albertine's office, Ag and Markets, and see about other cost share opportunities, and we'll get this back on a future agenda. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yep.
mhm.
Okay.
I
John,
think, you
got it.
know, what you
Okay.
said, there's more than just this, the yoga. We might
Yeah.
be missing the boat. And, if he knows the energy that we're looking at here to do this, that, whatever, I know he does, but.
Might
Like
have
I
other
say,
suggestions.
the whole thing, for the most of us, what we know is the few little things we read. But all you have to do is drive from here to there, wherever it happens to be, in that direction, and some of the sizes of the farms and the cornfield, you're saying, how can there not be, enough milk to support a plant or whatever? And I don't know the logistics of that all. I just think it needs to be a cooperative effort and led by no one any better than Daryl. So
I think,
take a look
I
at it.
think the milk supply is really controlled too by the big cooperatives. It'd
Probably.
be interesting to learn how all that works.
Well, I know a lot of farmers have gave up the operation because they couldn't make any money at it. Who knows? All right, what's next?
The next two items are, I just wanted to let you know that I reached out to the Ottawa Citizen and the Montreal Gazette for print and electronic advertising proposals up to $10,000. And what I found out was that even small print ads are around $600 a piece. So with a budget of $10,000, it doesn't go very far. So what I thought,
All you gotta do is get them on the national news like we got for the airport, and that's,
yeah.
how much is 5 minutes? And that's, we don't have that in our budget, I know we
Probably our
are.
entire budget
Yeah, I guess so.
of the authority.
I don't think a small print ad in either of those publications would get much notice, so what I thought about doing was going back and getting proposals just for electronic. A lot of people go to the web nowadays and they read off the Citizen or the Gazette or the Journal, whatever it may be, and you can have banner ads. So that's what I'm gonna go back and get a proposal for, and I'll bring that back to the committee at a later date if you think it's a good approach.
Okay, so E and F are both going to be retooled into electronic ads.
Yes.
You're going to bring that proposal forward.
Yep. This is just a discussion item.
Does Cape Air advertise in the Canadian market, do you know?
I think they are doing some, yes.
Very heavily.
Okay.
Right now, they have a
Well,
large
what was it,
promotion.
27, 29% of
Yeah.
so I was just,
For example, that's one of the things that members of this committee should probably be involved in. There is a joint meeting of airports that happens every 6 months, quarterly, depending on what's going on. Well, one of the things that meeting does is it determines everybody puts some money in the pot. Cape Air matches the pot and uses that for marketing activities.
It's our capital, that's what it is.
makes sense.
I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
Nope, I'm all set there. The last is, just wanted to inform you that we'd be attending the WIA Wind Power. I bought the booth for next year. It's going to be held in Chicago. It's on the Great Lakes, so it's in our backyard. and the booth was $3,600. So it's
That was invaluable.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad I went to, see the interaction and the plan that you had, John, and the people you talked to. I mean, and it's interesting, guys, whenever, I signed up for this AWEA email, up-to-date information and stuff, it's amazing what's going on within that industry and, who's doing what and what's being built and how it's being built and where the next project's going, what are the political ramifications, what the financial obligations are, and to put these proposals together is hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's like, wow. So,
Good. Do you have the dates on that or not yet?
it's May. It's
It's May sometime?
yeah.
that was last year, May?
It's
Yeah, it's usually the first couple of days of May.
Okay.
Okay, and for other such matters, there are two. One would be the need to adopt the DCG core plan report to get that resolution passed by committee and then get it on the board agenda if the committee so desires.
I'll move that we adopt the report.
Second.
I'm trying to think of how we were asked this question. As we work with this process, I know we're hiring Bruce and, and this firm within. Do we have the open dialogue with him? I know you do, but I want to hear from him anyways, to call him up and say, this is what we're doing, whatever. And it's not I'd say it's a professional privilege that he's providing information and insight for us along the way. Because that's really what we're doing here. I mean, accepting his expertise or understanding of what we're doing, how we're doing it.
yeah, I'll be talking.
I mean, he's not the Bible, but at least he's somebody that we really firmly believe that he's going forward to move this, I guess. Okay.
I would also add to that there's a lot of things in that report, some of the things that we, for lack of better terms, agree with, some of the things that we don't. While this becomes the direction that we're heading, it's not 100% of the direction that we're heading. I'll put it that way.
Sure. Well, all right, the other thing, no, actually, we got a...
The report is still on the
motion.
table.
Still on the table. Steve made the motion, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just something goes off the top of my head when we think of marketing, whatever. We're going to have this electronic sign coming up. All right, September, October.
Actually, it's going to be installed mid-September.
Okay, September, October, whatever. We're in the lines of what we can advertise and market, and some things that we can say. Because visibility is every day it's going to be saying something, whatever we want to be. I just don't want to be. It should be have certain information how you want to use the sign. I mean, so for marketing, I mean, what are some of the things that how we utilize that sign? I mean, I would say eye catcher. Eye catcher.
I would hope that it becomes the part of our marketing efforts to fill the buildings. I don't know what other messages would be on there, but hopefully there's specific messages, space available, $4 a square foot.
It is interesting because that's really kind of a governance issue too. What is that sign going to be used for?
Yeah, you should adopt a policy for it,
Yeah.
I think.
But we need to really put together all of these thoughts from maybe sometime it should be used to be advertising for a new position. It's a combination of really all the committee's input. So we really don't know what is going to go on the sign. We want to be careful of a policy that limits us from doing some of the things we might want to do with it. So it's being thought about. That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, I think it's.
We'll put that on the next marketing committee agenda and also coordinate with the governance committee to update everybody where we are in terms of the policy.
Yeah, I think you know, so we're, I don't know, say, have community support, but also it's our side what we want to have happen also. I mean, I guess you have to decide what we can do, like you said, what we can do, what we can't do. I mean,
It might have some money attached to it. You know, if it-
well, you could use that sign for a money approach. I mean, that's what they
Now,
did
the
down
other
at,
thing that-
the
There's
movie
another
theater.
one, there's another one available in the city if we want it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not showing any movies over, are we? Oh,
And the last item under other such matters is more of a reference for staff. We will put together a sample mission and goals draft for the committee's review. And John will coordinate directly with the chairman of the marketing committee. And Mr. Chairman, this is all that I have for business for the marketing committee, unless there are other issues.
Anybody else have any?
no, I think it's a starting point. You know, we just, I guess I go back to the other initiative, whatever. I mean, is there a couple outside people we want to add into this committee, whatever we want to be, and on an informal basis. I mean, I just throw a name because I threw out, there's, I don't know if you guys know Brad Minter. You know, he's a person, he's a retired person, whatever. You know, he expressed some interest to me. I went to, you know, the Hall of Fame game with him and my grandson, whatever. And we got talking about, you know, economic development in the area and stuff like that, and that's something that he, I'm just saying we want Brad or anybody else, whatever, but I'm saying, is there any other people you want to pull into our process? Or we think at our infant stages, just keep it simple within ourselves? I mean, I guess what,
Well, I think we need to identify who we are and where we're going before we bring in the outside
Okay.
people. However, that doesn't negate any thoughts of expanding or meeting with other groups who would like to meet with us. And I think John's group is exactly one of those groups that sometime maybe we could pull together all the different people who are involved in that type of thing, and maybe at least identify and understand who they are. We are economic developers group from that level. Maybe he's part of some one of those too, I don't know.
oh, he's involved.
But he certainly is, you know, he certainly has a lot of expertise and background and whatever. I think for this committee, we're here. But when we want to go to the outside, we have those resources to draw from that maybe we coordinate our effort through John's group.
From the county level, I mean, what kind of flavor would you get from state or county legislators and, you know, what's going on or what's not going on, what needs to be done? You get any flavor from your area, or you're all?
We have an economic development committee that Sam Burns is the chair of. I don't know that, you know, we've really turned over our economic development department and all that to the IDA. We had the Office of Economic Development. Now all of those activities are done by the IDA. With a contract.
Is there any continuum of anything? I mean, I know I'm on camera, and I don't want to say that the city isn't doing this, and the county isn't doing this, and the agency aren't doing anything, whatever, but is there something that we're missing that we can do differently, whatever, with county-wise, whatever? I mean, has anybody really said, I know everybody's trying to do their
I
best.
think this report says, and every report that I've ever said, is that we need to work together. We need to make sure that the IDA and us and the DDC and the Governor Economic Group all are pulling on the same rope, not pulling in opposite directions.
Absolutely.
So one thing that's showing up, a common thread in all reports, is basically work together for the promotion of the region.
The region.
And that shows up
this takes me back to the yogurt thing, you know? That we get together, and it's not like, hey, we want to be the guys, we want to do it. It's, we want to be the guys,
Right.
and everybody do it. I just liken it back to when I began teaching. If a good teacher had a way of doing things that kept it to themselves, they didn't tell anybody else. That's way their results could be better. But the new line of thinking in teaching was, well, if you got a good idea, share it. And that's the way I feel about this. I don't care how it happens. It's a good idea. Let's start talking about it. Let's say, hey, we're willing to jump on board. We don't have to give any dollar amounts, but let's get out there and explore it with the other people who might have been talking about it too. And if they haven't, and John says they haven't at that level, that says to me either it's kind of a secretive thing, we got the inside edge on this because we want it in our town or area, or that, I don't know what it's telling me, but it kind of like, well, let's get it out there and work on it together.
Mr. Chairman, there's one other thing we should probably talk about, and that would be the next meeting date, if that's agreeable, so we get that on the calendar.
What's your pleasure? No.
Okay. Steve and I have commitments on Tuesday, Thursday. Monday morning's excellent for me.
Mondays are good for me,
Mondays,
Monday morning.
yeah, Mondays.
If Mondays work, I'd rather
Yeah.
say maybe the 10th or the 17th of September, so that we don't let things go too far.
I'd rather wait until we have action items, actually.
To get
Well,
something.
we do. We've got the mission and goals, and we've
Oh,
got to
okay.
figure out where we're going.
Okay.
Wait a minute, when's our next board meeting? September?
It would be September 5th.
All right, so we really need to find out what the whole board's,
First.
right, what they're gonna say and what they feel about what we're doing.
So let's set an October meeting.
You say nothing in September? 12th, 14th, 19th? What's the date today? 19th? How about September 19th? That work?
You want to do it after the board meeting?
After the board meeting,
That-
yeah.
That's okay. September 19th.
It's a
on
Wednesday.
Monday.
It'd be a
I don't have
Wednesday.
Well, how
Wednesday,
about-
after the
I
regular
missed-
board meeting?
Oh, wait.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got the wrong date here, whatever.
We,
Okay, there's
17th?
Mondays in September are the 10th and the 17th and the 24th.
10th or 17th?
So we want to do it after the board,
Right.
regular board meeting. I mean, a date after
All right,
that.
17th?
The board meeting's on the what, 15th? No.
5th,
9
Fifth.
o'clock, September 17th.
9 a.m.
I would say this, I would like to keep this away from the regular board meetings, just simply because when things get so lengthy like that, you tend to stop thinking after a little while.
I
And
agree.
It was refreshing to be here and just talk about what this is and not worry about
Yeah.
where we're going from there.
I agree with you. I think this is something that needs to be kept away from the board meetings for that reason, as the dates are generally filled up.
I'd just like to say, I'd like to thank John and Fred and Wade for, I think it was a great agenda, and I know Steve had some input into it, and I think it was a great first meeting, and as we said, there's some good stuff in this report, and I think we should work to go forward on it, and like I said, I'm very happy with this first meeting. I think there's a lot of good discussions, some good proposals that we're going to be bringing back to the board, and it's a great kickoff, and we're starting off in a great positive direction.
Well, I hope my thought is it's a process that our staff can work with and we get results with, and we all can share on whatever happens with it, obviously positive, whatever, but hopefully that's the way it'll turn out. Anything with,
Anything else?
thoughts of going into the airline markets and, connect the, going to the Montreal market?
I haven't had any further luck.
Well, we'll talk about it another time. Well, again, thanks, Doug.
Any other discussions?
Good job, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Make a motion to
I'll
adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye?
Aye. All opposed?
Hey, you want to say that? Excellent, guys.
Thank you.